Every morning for 3 months straight, a tent appeared on the grass outside the Alice Springs local court. More than 300 kilometres from Yuendumu, it became a second home for Yapa on Arrernte country. Here they followed the evidence unfolding in the coroner's courtroom across the road. Kumanjayi Walker was 19 when he was shot and killed by a police officer during an attempt to arrest him 3 years ago. Constable Zachary Rolfe had barely been in the job 3 years when he was stabbed in the shoulder with a pair of scissors as he tried to take Mr Walker into custody. He responded by firing his gun 3 times. Earlier this year, after 5 weeks of evidence, a jury took 7 hours to decide the officer was acting in self-defence and in the reasonable performance of his duties, acquitting him of murder, manslaughter and engaging in a violent act causing death. Exactly how Kumanjayi Walker died has never been in question. Instead, the coroner has spent the past 3 months examining whether long-term systemic issues put Constable Rolfe and Kumanjayi Walker on the same fatal collision course in the first place. She heard the 19-year-old suffered trauma as a child, bounced between family carers and the youth justice system. His long criminal history, an important, relevant part of his story, unpacked in the coroner's court.
That being a part of Kumanjayi's history, they obviously felt a need in the courts to understand him through more of an empathetic lens, it felt like, rather than in the murder trial.
Outside the courtroom, in a historic visit to Yuendumu, the coroner saw for the first time the places she'd heard so much about. Much of the evidence put to the coroner about Constable Rolfe was ruled inadmissible by the criminal trial judge, who said it was too far removed from the shooting itself on November 9, 2019. But the coroner isn't bound by the rules of evidence, and she's examined the culture of the Northern Territory Police Force, hearing allegations of racism and use of force incidents being covered up. The coroner saw video footage of Constable Rolfe making arrests that resulted in injury, hearing one officer had raised concerns he was repeatedly engaging in concerning behaviour, but that no action was taken by his superiors. After investigations, none of his 46 use of force reports were ever found to be excessive. The coroner heard 46 wasn't an exceptionally high number of incidents. Despite objections from his barristers, messages on the constable's phone were also read onto the record, revealing the use of racist language among cops in Alice Springs. Constable Rolfe was called briefly to give evidence earlier this month, but he'd launched a Supreme Court bid to limit the questions he can be asked. A decision is due next week before he can be called to the witness box again. For now, the upper support camp has been packed away, to return when the coroner does in February next year. Melissa McKay, ABC News, Alice Springs.